Welcome back to the latest episode of Size 2 Ferns. My name's Sung Soo, and joining me today are the hero and heroine of Ozark Gladiators, Nikki and Andy. How you guys doing?
Doing great. How you doing?
Doing good.
I'm doing fantastic. You can find them at YouTube for Ozark Gladiators, and I believe on Facebook, facebook.com/Ozark. Is it underscore gladiators, I think?
Nope, just one word.
Oh, I messed that up. Okay, so YouTube,
No,
facebook.com/Ozark Gladiators. They make phenomenal, what I will call narrative battle reports, and they've been part of the Bifrost network. They crossed the Bifrost pretty much since we started. I've loved your content, and I'm super excited to have you here on the video today just to get to know a little bit more about you. So I do have to ask, how did you two start wargaming?
well, that'd probably be back for me. I've been wargaming since the mid '90s. I think, like a lot of people, I started with Warhammer, and I've been playing various systems since then. Started with 40K, did Mutant Chronicles. For those of you who are Mutant Chronicles people, then from 40K went to fantasy. Started doing War Machine when that kind of started becoming popular. War Machine Hordes, and then Nikki was kind of I introduced her first to. We were going to try to do War Machine Hordes and do a narrative report like that for that, but we found that the key for, and we can talk a little bit more about this. The key for playing the games is Nikki's got to have some kind of a passion for it. She's got to know the system. She's got to know the people, which is why we started with Star Wars, actually, Legion. And shortly after we got into Legion, we discovered MCP. And I think that was your first real experience into wargaming.
Yeah, Andy had tried to get me involved before, and I just wasn't interested. But this did it. Well, Star Wars, I was like, well, this is fun.
We enjoyed Star Wars, and we plan to one day maybe try to get into it a little bit more on the channel. Maybe.
Also, we started doing this during lockdown.
Yeah.
And so I actually had time. I felt
Right.
like before I was like, I don't have time to do this, Andy. And he was just like, but lockdown, we were just bored. So
Yeah.
I think that's how it started. And then I really loved it. I was like, this is really fun. And I think I might have beat you.
Quite a bit, actually.
I was like, yeah.
That happens with both systems too. With Star Wars, I was like, yeah, I won the first handful of games, and then she started winning, and I never really won consistently ever again.
No, you did, but it's just like I never thought I would, have a chance at beating him. I remember, like, in our early years, I was like, what is all this paint and stuff? Like, it was just I didn't know what he was doing. I didn't know this stuff existed, honestly. And it was like we would get like boxes in the mail. I mean, what did you order this time? And now I'm like, ooh, what'd you order? So
greatest day ever when that started happening.
He basically, this was his strategy to get me on board with him buying stuff for it. So
not gonna lie, it worked. So
well, I'm glad that worked out. My wife is very understanding, but has absolutely zero interest. She kind of shakes her head when the packages arrive. And same thing when we started dating, she's like, why do you have so much? I'm like, I paint toy soldiers. And she's like, why do you need so much paint though? And I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. It's just, so I guess the negative then is like, my wife has no idea how much these things cost. Nikki obviously is very aware of how much you're spending in your hobby than Andy, but it's great that you guys are doing it together. And it's always cool when something positive comes out of COVID, which is, rare. And yeah, good to hear. So you guys kind of touched on it, but so what really drew you into MCP, it sounds like, is the characters were relatable, right? There were these characters that you knew. Did you know them from the comic books? Did you know them from the cinematic universe, or where did you fall in love with Marvel?
You want to go with that one first? Ours are different.
Yeah.
Actually, they started the same way when it comes
down
to it.
Not really. Yeah. I mean, I think, Andy, you can talk about your comic stuff, but for me, when I was a kid, I remember watching the X-Men animated.
The 90s X-Men, which really is what I got started with.
It's the best. It's one of the best cartoons ever.
Heck
yes.
Yeah. Heck
yeah. And so I always had an interest in X-Men because of that. I wish I had read comics. I wish somebody had been like, hey, read this, but I think.
You got to remember, we're not going to put our exact age here, but yes, we were in high school when that came out. And back then, there was no, there was still a gender divide. In guys read comics, girls did not. And I think that's why that kind of thing was never,
Yeah,
really,
maybe. I mean, maybe. And I also thought,
and only nerds read the comics, really, when it came down to it.
yeah.
So I was a big dork back then. I mean, still am.
And then just like I've always loved superheroes
Yeah.
and I've always loved those kind of stories. And I remember, watching, this is DC, but Superman and stuff when I was a kid, and
Yep.
and Batman and all that. So I love that kind of stuff. And there's been so many new characters introduced to me through this game, and I want to know more about them. So it's just really cool.
Yeah, then for me, the 90s X-Men started it, but then I started going to the comic book store. This is right when Gambit was kind of becoming his own. He was all the rage for X-Men. This is also about the same time as like Valiant Comics and Image Comics were starting. So I got all this introduction into these various superheroes. I was always going back and forth between DC and Marvel, but ultimately, as anyone who's listened, Punisher and Captain America are my two favorite hero, anti-hero, I guess, if you want to call them. And I've been reading on and off ever since. I will still read comics to this day if there's a good series out there, a good storyline. And then we have one of those subscriptions to the Marvel Unlimited, so I can introduce her to the older storylines. Like, here's where I got this from. You want to read this? Like Civil War. That's how you read the entire Civil War series, was from Marvel Unlimited. Yeah, and we just love them. They have really good storylines a lot of times and really impactful. So that's how we got started.
Yeah, it is, to dovetail on your points, it definitely wasn't as mainstream or like acceptable to do these things. And Andy, it honestly sounds like we're about the same age. Yeah, there was definitely a stigma to it. I remember finishing up football practice and then like running to play Magic the Gathering with my friends. And all of my
Right.
football was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "No, I got to go play Magic." And like, "Why?" I'm like, "I don't know. What are you guys gonna do?" Like, so yeah, times have changed. I'm glad it's a little more accepting socially then. And yeah, Marvel United, it's a phenomenal service. It's a great way to read back issues of comics. I'm still super nerdy. You might be the same way, Andy. I buy 2 copies of every comic book, right? One to read, one that sits in a box, which feels incredibly wasteful. We just went through a house move, and I'm like, oh, there's a lot of boxes of comics.
Yes, and they're very heavy.
Yeah, and I'm not kidding anyone. They'll never really be worth money. It's not like the Golden or Bronze Age comics. They're just like
Right.
paper I've decided to waste money on. But anyway, we're not talking about that. So it's awesome to hear how you guys kind of got drawn into MCP. So what are your favorite characters? And this is a 2-part answer, and we'll start with Nikki here. What's your favorite character in Marvel Crisis Protocol? And then what's your favorite character in the Marvel universe itself?
Oh my goodness, that's a good question.
Oh, I know who.
Well, I know who I first would want to say, but it would be the same person. It would be
It can be the same person, but for some people, like the rules of a character really speak to them. Like, oh, I really love playing Doctor Strange, but my favorite character is definitely Zemo or something. No one's favorite character is Zemo.
This is weird, and I don't know why, but I love playing Beast.
Yes.
I just love him. I love playing. I think he's so fun, and I don't know. I just think it's fun. I know, like, it's not like he's the, oh, I'm going to play Beast, I'm going to win. No, it's just really fun playing him. And who else, Andy? Like
Enchantress.
Well, yeah, but that's just because she's so good, I guess. But also, she's like an evil lady, which it's fun to play. So,
But then Jean Grey.
Jean Grey, she's my favorite just from when I was a kid, and I just love Jean Grey. So, of course, I love playing her.
Yeah, I mean, Beast is a ton of fun to play, right? He's reactive defensively. You have decisions to make. Yeah. He's super mobile. His offensive abilities are really cool. There's a bunch of chain triggers off them. So, yeah, he's a very dynamic character. So I can definitely get behind him being one of your favorites on the tabletop.
Yeah, any of the characters that have mobility is what I like. I like having I react to stuff, so I don't really put a lot of thought into it before I play. So I'm just like, if they can kind of do different things and move around, and I just like that.
And she's very good at thinking about that. She really can visualize the whole battlefield in a lot of ways. She is like playing a chess player. She's kind of got these moves figured out.
But I don't really think about it beforehand at all. I just want to play. Yeah.
So you don't like to plan things out, it sounds like, but you like the toolbox or the optionality in characters, right? You like to be super reactive with them.
Yes. That's what I think is fun. Yeah.
I think Beast is great character for that. So, what about you, Andy?
That's a. I'll start with the MCU first because and it's not MCU. It would be Netflix, I guess, more so. But I've always been a big Punisher fan. He's one of those people that it's not so much about what he does. It's about if you're in a situation where you're in dire need, you don't necessarily want the Superman or Captain America to come in. You want somebody who's going to get you kind of, if the bad guys have tormented your family or whatever, you want the guy who's going to make a difference, not throw somebody in jail. And to me, that's kind of always been the Punisher. That's why I like the anti-hero aspect of that. Yeah, I'm ex-military if that helps either. So I'm not completely psycho, but I like the idea that like Batman and the Joker, he is a stop measure, and I've always like, why would you have that? The Joker kills millions of people out there. Why wouldn't you stop him permanently? Punisher would never have that problem. He's like, okay, we'll take care of him permanently. He tried to, in fact. That's kind of why I've always been a Punisher fan. And as for Marvel Crisis Protocol, gosh, that's a hard one because there's so many people I love playing in that one. Punisher is not one of them. He's good, but he's not like, oh, I'm going to go with him.
I know you like Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider, probably, yeah. Ghost Rider is one of my favorite people to play, and I was not expecting his update, and his update made him even more fun to play. So, yeah, I'd go with Ghost Rider. He'd probably be my number one. If I could play him in the majority of games, it'd be him right now.
Yeah, I mean the Punisher
Killmonger.
Netflix series was
Yeah.
Unexpected for me. I've never been a huge Punisher fan, but I really like that series. John, what's his name? John Byrne. I don't know.
Berthenol.
There you go. That was a phenomenal. I loved him in Walking Dead. I thought he was great in the Punisher.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can see that. Ghost Rider. And what was the other one you mentioned? I'm sorry.
Killmonger.
Oh,
He
okay.
is actually. I probably have to say Killmonger over Ghost Rider. I just love Killmonger. He can really, if you do him well, he can take the game away. But he's a threat. No matter if you put him on the board, he is a threat, and you can't really ignore him what he can do. So now I know he's not a widely used tournament piece, but again, that's not what we play. We play just thematic fun games, and in that kind of a game, Killmonger can definitely, if you again not watched after by your opponent, can definitely steal the game away for you. So I just love playing him for that reason.
Yeah, and Killmonger is on the rise as a competitive piece, right? I mean, all the characters you named are. I wouldn't be surprised to see in a super competitive roster. So yeah, don't sell yourself short in that regard. So obviously, I was introduced to you through your content, through the YouTube content, and Pat and I have obviously just started a YouTube channel. Full confession, we have no idea what we're doing. So, what made you two take the jump into? I want to make content, and I want to make video content, which is again not a small task to undertake.
I think we wanted to see if we could do it.
I think it was like kind of just a project that we could do together.
Yep.
And when we were doing Star Wars, we started watching, like Andy's like, well, why don't you watch it on YouTube and see, and there was, I can't remember.
War Corgi.
War Corgi, yeah.
We absolutely loved his content. And we didn't think we could ever do like him, and we never want to do it like anyone else. But we thought we could make entertaining content too.
And I think it's like when you start watching it, you're like, oh, but we could do that. And I think we always wanted it to be quality. Yeah. So it does take a lot of time to do it. But we feel like that's just, I don't know, it's just us. We just like to do it that way. We like it to be understandable and for people to know kind of what's going on and what our thoughts are while we're playing it.
Yeah, and then we saw a few other people from other channels doing MCP. And certain of them were the actual people, content creators. Some of them were their guests they had on there. And we loved some of the interaction and just the overall explanation these people were giving. There's one person we saw, like, he explained what he's doing, why he's doing it, and his overall effect. We're like, that is awesome. Now I know why you're using this piece to do that. And this is why you were expecting, the outcome. And I thought, especially Nikki, we could do that, explain what we're doing, why we're doing it. but also just have some fun playing the game.
I think that's kind of what it turned into.
It turned
is
into
us
that,
just
yeah.
having fun with it, and we're not
strategists in the least bit.
We're definitely not strategists, but we like it. If you want to know why we did what we did, we try to do that. Some games are better than others. Sometimes we're just being silly. But
or if like it's 2 hours into the game, we're like, all right, I don't want to explain anymore. I just want this to end.
Right.
So, but yeah.
So did either of you have any experience with video production or Photoshop or any of that beforehand, or was it just a bunch of YouTube tutorials?
YouTube tutorials.
Yeah, and Andy's more of a tech person than me, so it is almost all him that's doing that. So
yeah, it was.
You thought it was going to be easy. You're like, oh, this will take no time at all.
Right.
But no.
It's a lot. I mean, as you know, it's very complex. There's lots going on. But no experience.
And you have gotten faster as it's gone on. It doesn't take nearly as much time.
But again, I work IT. I've done IT for the last 20 years now, I guess, 15, 20 years. So certain things do bleed over to that no matter what you're doing. And then I watched a lot of YouTube, a lot of YouTube videos on how to use Adobe, how to get certain effects. And as I still find new ones, like I see other people do things like, I want to know how they did that, and I'll incorporate that as well. So.
Awesome. Well, I have to say, I love your content. It's, in my opinion, very well produced, and it keep making it. So I do have to ask a little bit behind the curtain. So how long does it take you to make your average video?
A full week, but that is generally, and again, that's part of the reason why we don't get to go as fast right now. We will get the video put together. I'll compile it into Adobe. And then the process of making the rounds, if it's a full 6-round game, that definitely takes probably about 2 or 3 hours a day to do. And that's not including the voiceovers at that point. So about 2 or 3 days to do the segments together, to kind of put some of the graphics in there, probably closer to 3. The voiceover, we've gotten down to 1 day. We can do that in about 3 hours. Because you got to remember, we have jobs too. So this is all in the evening.
You actually have 2 jobs. So
yeah. Well, yeah.
This is us just trying to fit things in and just do it when we can.
And then, the voiceover, we've gotten down to a day. And then we try to use Thursdays as our polish day. Like, okay, let's watch the video. Does this work? Does it not work? As there's spelling errors every time. Sometimes the segments, like the worst thing ever was I was 3 or 4 days into a project and it got corrupted. And then I didn't have the video saved in the cloud. So we lost it all. We spent all that time playing. We spent all that time editing, and then I lost it all. That's so frustrating. And I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but I've learned since then to make backups of my backups. So that can't ever happen again. But it takes about a full week, 5 days. Like, we'll call it 5 days. But
that's you doing it off and on.
Yeah, if I did that full time, I could get it done in a day, probably. But it's my evenings. That's how I spend the evenings. And, as I get time throughout the day, I get to work from home still. So I'll take, lunch break. I'll work on the video a little bit sometimes, just whenever I can.
All right. And kind of as we wrap up here, then just a couple more questions. So what are your goals for the Ozark Gladiators channel?
Just to have entertaining content. Honestly, we want people to enjoy it. We are not ultra competitive people, as you stated. So,
and I think, originally we wanted to play other games, and we might still do that
someday. Yeah.
But right now we're having fun with MCP, and I think that's just it. I think we keep trying to make it better.
Yeah.
I think we keep trying to make the graphics better or put it together. I don't know. And just have fun with it. If we're not having fun with it,
that's when
what's the point?
And honestly, it's being able to talk with other content creators too. That's been an unexpected, but a solid benefit for me. And I think Nikki too, getting to talk to you, talk to the people who do content creators. It's a lot of fun to see kind of everyone's perspective, how they're contributing to the community. I think obviously if you played other games, you know how toxic the communities can get. I love there is some toxicness in MCP, but overall it is minor compared to things I've seen in the past.
And our viewers are so great.
We have a super awesome viewers.
They're just like, I mean, because we make mistakes all the time, and they're just super polite about it.
They're just like, excuse me, actually, you did that completely wrong, but it was still entertaining the way you did it.
Great job, anyway. Yeah. Great job. So, and they, I think that they're just like, I don't know if this is the right word, but it's such cheerleaders too.
Yeah.
So for us to get it out and do well.
No, I mean, that's awesome to hear. Like I said, I think you've carved out a really solid niche in the MCP community. And, we look forward to seeing what you all do in the future. So last question here. A lot of people want to make content. I get asked a couple times a week for tips about making content. So I've got to ask you, if you were to give someone who hasn't made content before one piece of advice each, what would that piece of advice be? Andy, let's start with you.
It is a commitment. If you're going to do it, you're going to have to put some time into it, and that's going to eat at fun time, family time, things like that. So just know that you're going to have to, if you want something that looks good, you're going to have to put some time into it, and just learn. Just allow yourself to make mistakes too, because we made plenty of mistakes on the content creation process.
And on that, I would say, don't take yourself too seriously.
Yeah.
Like, have fun with it, and realize you're going to make some mistakes. Always try to be polite and, nice to people, even if they kind of irritate you,
Yeah. That actually may be the biggest one. If you open yourself up to argument and criticism in your comments, you are going to be in for a rough path. We try to always be polite. We want to be respectful of everybody. And I think that shows back. We get reciprocated that. We've seen what happens on other people's videos where they decide to start arguing with their commenters, and that just eggs people on. So that'd be the secondary, maybe more important piece. Be careful of how you're going to communicate, because some people are looking for that.
Always try to be professional, I guess. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, great piece of advice. I do want to thank you for joining me on Size 2 Ferns. It was great having you guys on. So where can everyone find you again? I don't want to accidentally butcher the links.
No, it's all right. We're on YouTube under Ozark Gladiators, one word. And then same thing with Facebook. We have a username as Ozark Gladiators, and we have a Facebook page as well. All one word, ozarkgladiators.com. And you can find us there. You'll usually see us in the forums at some time. So we're always looking forward to talking with people.
Awesome. Well, like I said, if you're looking for a narrative battle report, please be sure to check out Ozark Gladiators. We want to thank you for joining us, watching this video. Please give us a like and subscribe. Nikki, Andy, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks for carving a little bit of time. I hope I didn't delay a video coming out, but thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely not. Thank you, sir. We really appreciate it.
Bye.